So I was looking through the classifieds in the Boston Globe and I came across an ad looking for dancers, hostesses. I had no idea what I was getting myself involved in. I would have never in a million years thought that I would be doing this. I was exhilarated.
In this episode, I'm talking to Enjae Ostberg. Enjae was a former stripper and prostitute working in Boston's notorious combat zone. She talks about the bars, the clubs, the pimps, and the drug scene. Step into this world with myself and Enjae as she relives some of the stories and some of the feelings and emotions that she went through at that time. So, where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Massachusetts or around Boston?
Yep, I grew up in Framingham, and I went to college at Northeastern. My dad worked both at the Prudential Center and at the John Hancock, so I was very familiar with Boston. We used to go in all the time. Anthony's Pier 4, the whole, public garden stuff. But I really got an introduction to the dirty old Boston side. I met a man when I was 18. I had just graduated from high school, and he was a lot older than I was. And he had a lifestyle that I was really interested in because it was scary and it was dangerous, and I wanted to know more about it. So we became partners, boyfriend and girlfriend, and I moved in with him, and he went away to Florida with some of his buddies, and he told me that I needed to have a job by the time he got back. So I was looking through the classifieds in the Boston Globe, and I came across an ad. It was the Roy D. Theatrical Agency looking for dancers, hostesses. I had no idea what I was getting myself involved in. So I took the train into Boston.
Sorry, did it say something like, make lots of money or make this, or it was just saying?
I think so. So his office was on the corner of Boylston Street and Tremont Street. I remember the Brigham's ice cream store was downstairs. So I took the elevator up to his office, and he had a couple of female assistants who basically handed me a extremely skimpy red two-piece bathing suit and walked me down to the Naked Eye on Washington Street, where I was to have my job interview. Was terrified, but I also found that I was exhilarated. The atmosphere. I would have never in a million years thought that I would be doing this. So I got the job. I was very pretty back then. I mean, look at me now. I'm exhausted, but I've been sick.
You look
for the
cool,
past
MJ.
week
Don't sweat
and
it.
working through my sickness. But anyhow, so that was 1978, and I stayed at the Naked Eye for a while. Princess Cheyenne was the featured dancer. There was another girl named Trish McNeil. She was also the featured dancer. So the Naked Eye had two stages. One was the front stage and one was in the back, and it was called the Pussy Galore Lounge. And that stage consisted of just one square down low. All the men sitting around were like in your face type of thing. And back then you danced for 5 songs, and your last song was your floor show, which means you had nothing on and you were showing everything. So if you, I think you danced 4 times a shift. 2 were on the main stage and 2 were on the back stage. And then what you had to do in between that was to get guys to buy you drinks. And I hated that part of it. Absolutely hated it because, they want to touch and feel, they want you to touch oh God, it was gross. And I think the drinks at that time, which were only, they weren't serving the girls alcohol, or at least most of the girls, they weren't serving alcohol. I think it was just that Martinelli's apple cider
And they
sparkly
said it
thing.
was champagne. Yeah.
Yep, yep. And I think they were $9. So the more drinks you got, the more money you made at the end of the night. And I really sucked. It was called mixing, and I really sucked at it because I didn't want any part of the touchy feely, gross things that went on. So after I left the Naked Eye, where did I go?
But like, how much would you make a night on a busy night, on like a Saturday night?
$400 to $500.
And you were about 18, 19?
Yep, yep.
Wow. And $400 to $500 back then. Like, what was your rent? Do you remember what it cost to rent?
Let's see. We were still living in Framingham, and he, God, it wasn't that much. We had a really nice 2-bedroom apartment. The man that I was involved with was also involved with some underworld figures in Boston, and he kind of knew a lot of people down there. So he was upset with me for not telling him that I had gotten this job, even though he said you need to get a job before I come back from Florida. But
was he an intimidating guy? Like, if you didn't get a job, what would have happened?
No. You know what? We are still really good friends. We have a child together who's, he still lives in Chestnut Hill, and we're still really good friends. I mean, our relationship was just like whacked, crazy shit. But it was back then, and that was really exciting to me because I had led such a middle class, sheltered life, and I didn't get along with my parents. I had moved out, and it was kind of like I was rebelling, and I really didn't know about consequences back then.
Oh, what years was this? Was this like 71, 70?
No. Well, no, I entered into the combat zone world in 1978.
78, okay.
And I got out of the life in 84.
Okay.
Yeah. And my time in the combat zone, although some of it was fun, a lot of it wasn't, because I stopped dancing and I became a prostitute. And
because you could. Okay, so you're 18. You meet this guy. How much older is he?
Yep. He was 30 when I met him.
Okay.
So he's now, he just turns.
Sorry, was he selling
he's running with a crowd. No, not at all. I got involved with cocaine because it was there in the clubs. Mm-hmm. But no, he wasn't a dealer. He had a day job, but he was also working for bookmakers, going out and collecting sports bet monies at night. And
do you know if he
that
worked
part
with,
of him was not a nice person?
The Winter Hill guys, or with the North End
guys? More the North End guys.
Okay.
More than North End guys. Although he did know the Winter Hill people. When I saw the movie Black Mass, it brought back so much. I was like, oh my God, I wish I'd never watched this movie. So we had split up because he was kind of sick and tired of my antics. I was kind of sick and tired of him coming home at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And
when you would do coke in the club,
yep.
Did it come from a customer or from like the owners, the bartenders?
No, the other girls. A lot of the girls sold it, and back then, it was $25 for a quarter of a gram, and you could make it last all night, and I liked that. I liked that feeling. I have to tell you that I'm a person in recovery with 30 years clean. I did not get off cocaine until 1989. So,
and it gives you energy. It takes away.
Oh my God, energy! You lose your inhibitions. Yeah. So there was always like a bunch of Chinese guys that used to come into the Naked Eye, and as you know, Chinatown borders, and so I got my first experience with prostitution through them because they thought I was cute and they wanted me to come home with them, and so I started doing that. And
did they offer you a lot of money to do it?
Oh God, no. The Chinese, they were cheap, cheap, cheap. Um, so I met a couple of girls through them that were already working girls, and they kind of took me under their wing. One was named Deborah, the other one was named Shelby, and the other one's name was Lori. And so I would do bachelor parties with them, and that seemed okay. And then in 19, I'd pretty much been done with dancing. It was the Naked Eye, Club 66, Pussycat Lounge.
And would girls do extras
And
at the club, like, in the back room, where they do like hand jobs or
oh,
blowjobs? Stuff?
oh yes, oh yes, yes.
Is that really
And
how girls made money?
yep,
Like, made a lot of money?
yep,
Okay.
most certainly, yep. The premier girls like the Princess Cheyennes, the Trish McNeils, they didn't have to do that, but they only danced like twice, and then they sat and with their customers, and their customers thought they were fabulous because they were famous, and bought them drinks all night. But it was just the regular girls like me, and I didn't want to do that, and that's probably why I didn't last at clubs. But it sounds very hypocritical of me, because then I decided to sell my body for sex, which is essentially what they called mixing was in the clubs. And then I got involved with a pimp,
Were you doing
and that was horrible.
were you hooking kind of to like pay for the drugs?
Uh, yeah, yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that my um, cocaine habit had definitely increased substantially from the
And
time that I first took it.
when you do that much coke, everything's a good idea. So it's like,
Everything. Oh, yeah, my
right.
God. Like Robin Williams used to say, you talk to people that you normally wouldn't talk to, and you say silly little things that you would never say in the daytime. So pretty much, yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Um, so this girl, Lori, um, she introduced me to her man. That's what they called him. He was black. He also was from Framingham, although I did not know him from living in Framingham. His name was Chico. And I then began the world of being being practically, I guess, owned by a pimp, and having to surrender all of my money
So they always
that
talk
I
about
made.
how the pimp will like seduce the girls into that
Oh
lifestyle.
God, oh God, yeah, wine and dine you and buy you things and tell you that life is just great and that we're a family. And so it was just Lori and I. So he must have told, I'm sure he said to her, we need to find another girl. And I really like Lori. She lived at, what do they call it? It's on Mass Ave. It's right across from the Christian Science Church, those apartments. So she lived there. And then he got me a studio on um, Beacon Street, the 300, a mattress on the floor, a phone, and a kitchen and a bathroom. I mean, it was nice. It was like, I was living on Beacon Street, but, there certainly wasn't any other furniture in there. And that was the purpose of which was I was to sleep there, but I was also to bring back, clients. So I did, and I would do parties with Lori. I also knew how to kind of hide some of the money so I could, go up to Downtown Crossing and, buy a bottle of perfume for myself or whatever. Um, and that was a really dark time, because he would come over before the night began, and he would give me probably like a gram, maybe 2 grams of cocaine to last me the night. And yeah, it was crazy. It
So
was
how would you
crazy.
get your clients? Would he just send guys to you, or you would have to go out and?
No, No, no. We spent our nights at Good Time Charlie's on LaGrange Street. So I was,
And what was Good Time
picked up
Charlie's?
lots. Good Time Charlie's was a really skanky. It was a stripper bar, but it was also a hooker bar. So there were dancers, and the guy that owned it, oh, what was his name? Willie Moses, black guy, old style pimp. He was like probably at that time, he was probably in his 50s, and I mean, he never went after the girls or anything. He was just the manager, and he ran a good club, but it was what it was, and you were to go in there and sit with guys and have them buy you a couple of drinks and then take them back to the apartment, turn your trick, and then go right back down.
Hmm. And
And
they
that
wouldn't have rooms
lasted for a
upstairs?
really long time. I don't know, not there. I know they did at King Arthur's in Chelsea. I got out of the life then. I was a bartender there for a really long time after I left Boston. Um, No, you were either expected to bring them back to your what they call wife-in-law, the other girl's apartment, or your apartment, and then you were expected to go right back. Um, have you ever heard of or read the book called Missing Beauty by
No.
Teresa? Okay, I suggest it's probably you can probably get it on Amazon. You can probably get it on Kindle. It's the true story of this working girl named Robin Benedict who was murdered by her trick. He was a professor at Tufts University, and she was a beautiful girl, absolutely stunning. And he hammered her to death and chopped her body up into little pieces, and they
Wow.
never found her again. Yeah, and I saw her the night she died because she was parking her car going back into Good Time Charlie's, and I was leaving, and we just said a pleasant hello to each other. Um,
And did you ever
yeah,
have
that was
guys get violent or get crazy?
no, no. And that is a miracle because that happened a lot. That happened a lot. I don't know why. I used to carry, things with me that would, protect me in case of an attack,
Hmm.
but no one I never got raped. I was never beaten. Um, yeah, somehow I managed to escape that. Um,
Wow.
but um, I started growing really tired of that life and being under someone's control. And I had decided to leave this pimp. And I was on the phone with a friend of mine from Framingham that I had grown up with and told her that I was leaving. And little did I know that he was on the other side of the door listening to my phone conversation. So when he got into the apartment with his key, I can't believe this is happening. So I had um, someone that I had grown close to that I could trust, and I went and lived with him. There was no relationship or anything. It was just a friend. I left. I took what I could and got out of that apartment on Beacon Street and left. And I
Hmm.
stayed, and so the person lived in Medford, and I stayed in Medford for the longest time. For the longest time. Whoop, what happened?
Oh, I lost my video. Hey, you know
Where'd we
what? The
go?
call
Oh,
quality isn't great. If you see on the bottom of your screen,
okay.
it say start video or stop video,
Yeah,
click that, and then it
yeah.
will just be
I
audio,
don't
like a
see
phone
that.
call.
Oh, okay. So we just do audio.
Try that.
Okay, is that better?
I can still see you.
Okay, is that better? Yeah, let's see.
Hold on.
No. So we don't want to go to video.
Okay, yeah. Try this.
Okay, is that better?
We'll see, but it just started to cut out when you started telling that story. So sometimes when you get rid of the video, it can like go faster. It'll be easier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I feel like
Okay.
I can hear you better now.
So, okay. So I totally got out of that lifestyle um,
But wait,
in
so you were saying
1980,
he came into
late.
the room and then what did he say to you?
Yes. And he told me that if I left, he was going to hunt me down and kill me. And then he left. His exchange with me that night lasted an entire 15 seconds. So I didn't know where he was going, but I was scared to death because nobody
Right.
had ever threatened me like that before. So I just grabbed what I could and left. And I stayed clear of Boston. I stayed clear of the combat zone because, quite frankly, I was afraid of repercussions. And
Yeah.
I didn't go back down to the combat zone for a couple of years after that. And the only time I went down was to have like a drink with one of my, friends that were still in the life. By that time, um, the girls were getting older and they were really showing their age, and it was really starting to get dark.
Right.
And that was probably around the time that um, crack cocaine had come into the picture. And that definitely changed things down there for the worse.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that there were rumblings of, all right, we're going to clean up this place, and this is not going to happen again, because the combat zone, the way it was, in the 60s and the 70s and into the 80s, was they kept that kind of behavior concentrated in that 4 block area.
Right.
So it wouldn't seep into the other areas of Boston, like the Back Bay or Beacon Hill or the South End or anything like that. And everybody knew that that's what went on down there. I mean, there were police that looked the other way. Politicians didn't want to be involved, type of thing. I mean, it was a free for all down there, Jason, for the longest time. You could do whatever the hell you wanted. If you wanted to walk naked down Washington Street, I'm sure you could have, and had no repercussion. So, I mean, it was just like a play area. And
And 1980, when did you say that crack kind of showed up on the scene? Like,
I'm thinking like 85, 85. Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
80. And that just changed everything because, then the girls were starting to rob the guys. And
Well, and what's the difference between like coke and crack?
well, powdered cocaine, you sniff enough of it, it'll ruin your nose. But you can get by with making a certain amount of cocaine last. Like, say, if you had a gram, you're not going to sit there and sniff the entire gram in one sitting. But with crack cocaine, you put that one rock into that pipe and light it up, you got to have more. And you end up chasing and chasing and chasing and never being able to get that original high. And then and then days turn into nights, turn into days, turn into nights, and it's 4 days later. And you're still sitting in the same grubby hotel room with these grubby people. I mean, listen, I was just down there with them, you know? I ended up coming back into the city in 1985. I was working a legitimate job. I had an apartment in the Fenway section, and I was up doing cocaine all night, every night.
Wow.
And eventually lost my job, lost my apartment. And I only did crack for 3 years, but in the 3 years, I lost everything, everything. And when I moved to Connecticut in '88 on a job transfer. 4 or 5 months later, I lost that job because I was heavily into crack.
Yeah.
And then I found myself pregnant with my second child and thinking, well, we can't do this anymore. And that's when I got clean. I got clean in July of '89.
So what percentage of girls that were working in the clubs, whether they were stripping or if they were hooking.
Jason, hold on one
Yeah.
second. I just have to answer this call. Hold on.
Okay.
Hey, you. I'm good. I'm on a conference call for work, so can I call you right? Are you home? Oh, okay. Are you okay? Okay. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Well, let me call you back in like 10 minutes. Okay, honey. Love you. Bye. Okay. So,
So what percentage of those girls that were in the clubs working or hooking were using drugs, were using coke?
I would say 100%.
Right. And
Except for
was
okay.
heroin big on the scene?
If it was, I didn't know about it because that was a drug that I knew that it was scary because I had seen what it had done to my cousins in
Mm-hmm.
the 70s, and I said no way. I do have to preface my 100% statement with there was one pimp. His name was Sweet George, and he had pristine. I mean, his rules were: you dressed nice, you were made up, and you didn't do drugs. And the same was with the girl Robin Benedict, who was murdered. The man that she was with absolutely forbade drugs, but for the most part, it was Cocaine City.
Wow. Are any of
Yep.
those old pimps still around?
I don't know. I was told many years ago that the man Chico that I was with died. I didn't know any other information. I, I they're either dead or in jail. I mean, I don't know
Right.
because there is no more combat zone, and um,
And
the girl that was headlining at the Naked Eye, Princess Cheyenne, she went on to have got her degree in psychology and runs a psychotherapy business on the South Shore.
oh wow.
And yeah, she was dating Cat Stevens at the time that she was dancing at the Naked Eye, but he couldn't handle her lifestyle. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Um,
any
and there was a track that was like over near the Greyhound bus station, Boylston and Arlington.
yep,
But that was all gay guys?
yeah, for the most part, yeah. Um, because all right, so there was a gay club on Essex Street called Playland Cafe,
Yep.
and then there was Bay Village was on the border of where that Greyhound bus station was, and
Yep.
Bay Village was notorious for male prostitutes, transvestites. So that was that. I mean, I would see them in passing, but that was the only. I didn't really I had no gay friends at that point,
Right.
but yeah, that was the area where all the gay prostitution was around. There was another gay club, the Fenway. Oh my God, the Fenway section was notorious. There's a little park. It's still there. Oh, the Ramrod Club was down there. There's a park in if you're heading towards Westland Avenue in Boston, and that was notorious for bringing gay men would have sex in there all night long. You'd walk by it in the daytime, and there'd be like rubbers all over the place. It's crazy.
That's the thing that the city's changed so much.
I know.
Yeah.
And on one hand, Jason, I mean, my lifestyle now, I'm going to be 59 in July. Okay. I work as a nurse at an assisted living care facility here in my town, West Hartford, Connecticut. If you were to meet me now, you'd be like, you never did that stuff. Yeah, I did. I'm as straight as an arrow. I smoke a little weed. I like a little wine now and then, but I'm just like.
And what do you think made you want to go so wild? Like, did you have, was there abuse when you were growing up?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, my parents are two people that probably should have never married each other and never had kids, but that dysfunction really was not a catalyst in my life. It's I made a decision that I would never get married based on what I saw in my parents' marriage, and I never did get married. I had 2 kids out of wedlock, and they're fine. I'm a grandmother. I go to work every day. I work, incredibly long hours, and I am working this weekend. That's why I took today off. And I'm boring. I cook. I love to watch the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots. Uh, I walk. I'm a hiker.
Do you feel like that you had that such an extreme lifestyle?
Yeah.
Like, do you look back on it ever fondly? Like it's total adrenaline. It's total like you're just on the edge.
That's a great question because I do look back on it with some fondness. Had I known then what I know now, I would have saved every penny I made instead of blowing it up my nose and giving it away to a pimp. I would have saved every penny I made and probably bought a house down the Cape and drifted off into the sunset, because the money back then was good.
Yeah.
And it was consistent.
$500 back then. You probably could have gotten an apartment for $300 a month, right?
Exactly. And, I would have asked somebody to help me with an investment or a portfolio and all that other jazz that I have now. Do I consider it a waste of my life? No, because I think that we all have to have experiences to get us to where we are right now.
Well, it's better than just being the boring, like nobody that ever did anything kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You really had to go through everything of yourself.
Yep, and I, saw some things and, things that I heard about even while I was down there, yet didn't see. And some of them were horrific. And, like the murder of Robin Benedict. She was one of the sweetest girls, and she didn't talk to many people. She would just say hello to the other girls, and that's it. She kept it moving, and she did her job. And, this professor from Tufts University started, because Tufts was right around the corner from the combat zone, started coming into Good Time Charlie's on LaGrange Street, and he became obsessed with her. Mm-hmm. And he gave her tons and tons of money. And even his wife found out, his job found out. And he was under, his wife was leaving him, taking the kids. His job was on the line. And he could not break free from Robin. And the only option he thought of was to kill her. Right. So that she wouldn't be with anybody else. And he got caught. He did some time. He's out now. But, I mean, I think that was probably the beginning of the end for the combat zone, because girls got scared after that. Was it a
violent place?
I would say yes, although I never really witnessed violence. You'd go home and the next night you'd go in and go, oh, did you hear what happened last night to so-and-so and so-and-so? He got his ass beat on, Beach Street in Chinatown. Right. I never witnessed that kind of violence, but would I say that the combat zone at that time was violent? Absolutely. They were coming off of another high-profile murder of a Harvard football player, and that happened.
Do you know
late
who killed
60s,
him?
Early 70s?
No,
because I don't know if, you'd have to look that up. I'm sure if you Googled Harvard football player murdered in the combat zone, I'm sure that there's still articles. But that happened before I even stepped foot into the zone. So that's it, I guess.
Wow. And in the theaters, there was a lot of sex that was happening, like in the theaters, right? People would watch the movie.
Oh, yeah. And there were peep shows. So, those were horrible. So the peep shows the girls would be behind an automatic, you know, curtain, and when the man came in to sit down, he would put the coins in, and the curtain would go up, and I guess the premise was the girls would get money. The more money the girls got from these guys who were basically sitting in this little booth jerking off,
Right.
the more money that the girls would get, the more that they would do. And I went into one time just to visit a friend, and I kind of sat off to the side while she was doing her thing, and I was like, it's so gross. Like, it's so gross. And she's like, yeah, it's so funny though, because they'll stuff 10s and 20s into the slot, and all I gotta do is take my clothes off and show them a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and when they're done, they leave, and I have no interaction with them. There's a, you know, plexiglass window that separates the two of us. I was like, okay. So yeah, so there was that. There was also a lot of sex in the theaters that were showing these XXX rated films.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
So the landscape is like, you have the girls that are there working.
Yep.
You have the pimps that are like really the predators.
Yep. And some of them,
all the men are just the prey.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just get the money out of these guys.
Yep. And I never subscribed to the theory of, you know, empty the guy's pockets. I never stole from any of the men that I saw. I didn't like that. I just kind of thought that, you know, if you and he are gonna go spend time and he's gonna pay you, let's say, $150 for an hour, then just take the $150, spend the hour, and call it a day. You know what I mean? Like, there was this one black girl that I used to hang out with. Her name was Birdie, and she used to rob guys. That was her thing, robbing guys. I'm like, you don't want to ever get yourself into a situation where if you get caught robbing a guy, does this guy have a gun?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have a knife? Are you going to make it out of a hotel room or the room wherever you took him to? Or are you going to come out of that place knowing or not knowing that the guy called the cops, and the cops are going to be right down there waiting for you? I never got arrested in Boston doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Prostitution either. I never did. I minded my business. I did what I had to do. I gave my money up at the end of the night, and I went home.
Right. And
when I got home, I stayed up all night and doing coke. And then slept all day, and then went back downtown. That was the life. That was the life.
And this is, I mean, a little bit personal, but you're not shy. But like, was the sex ever good or exciting, or are you so disconnected from it that
you're very disconnected from it? You know, I'm thinking about, okay, I need to get a nail appointment. Are you almost done?
Right.
Yeah, it was just very perfunctory.
And would the guys fall in love?
It's like, you know, I'd look at my watch. You know, I think that they're addicted to, or they were as much as addicted to that seedy side of life and the danger involved in it. That, yeah, I mean, you know, I developed my regulars, you know, Tuesdays and Thursday guys,
yep.
But I didn't have
most
anybody.
of them guys that were just married and kind of like unhappy or unsatisfied.
Yep. Just wanted a little, you know, excitement, and they would go trotting back off to the wife and the 3 kids. And, you know, I always used protection. I always never caught anything. I mean, that was like made clear from the first time you hit the bricks as a hooker. You use protection. So, you know, I would go into the drugstores and I would buy, you know, the condom of choice, you know, whatever was recommended to me at that time. Oh, you got to have this one because they're really good. And the only problem I had with the condoms is that there were a lot of guys that didn't want to wear them. And I'm like, you don't wear one, you're not seeing me. You're not seeing me. So, and even though I was on birth control, I didn't want to catch anything.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
think of all the things that I could have caught. I mean, even HIV was coming up. So, you know, when I finally decided to get all the way clear of that lifestyle, I made sure that I went and got myself tested. I mean, I even, you know, I kept gynecological appointments while I was working. You know, I think there was a part of me that was all the way entrenched into that lifestyle, but yet at the same time, I kept a pretty decent head on my shoulders. I didn't
Hmm.
want to get I didn't want to get involved in all the ancillary bullshit that went on down there.
Right.
You know? So and I have to say that I probably think, not probably, that most of the girls down there are probably that were down there during my time are probably not even alive anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, for whatever reason, I mean, you could see the toll that this lifestyle was starting to take on people, and you could see them get skinnier and skinnier and drink more, and you know, I mean,
Right.
they're
It
definitely.
gets less cute and more
It does. It gets
bad.
less
Yeah.
cute. So here I am in my early heading to mid 20s and thinking to myself, oh no, I don't think I want to celebrate a decade down here in 1988. And I didn't. By the time 88 rolled around, I was here in Connecticut and I've been here ever since.
But doesn't
And
everyday life get boring?
I,
Not that it's not, of course it's better, but it's like, there's something to that, like, excitement, and that it keeps you going.
oh yeah, there's always, you know, I always like, I'll close my eyes and I'll think about the music back then. It was, you know, we were heavily ensconced in the disco era, and a lot of my playlists on my Echo are music of that era.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy and satisfied with the life that I have. I've done a lot of things since I've lived here in Connecticut. I came back to run the Boston Marathon 5K a couple years ago. I've run a lot of races here in Connecticut. I have some really cool friends. I have 2 cats. I have grandsons. I have my daughters. You know, I'm mellow.
Oh, do you have
Like I
any
said, I'm going to be
photos?
59.
Do you have any old photos?
Do I have it?
Yeah, from the zone, or like from you went back in that time?
I do. I do. There's one in particular that actually one of my clients took of me. How would I get them to you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess if you want to snap a picture of them, like on your phone or however, you could just
Okay.
Facebook message it.
Oh,
But
yes. Okay, I can do that.
yeah,
Yeah, I
if
have
you
a I
get
just have a
those photos, that'd be so cool to
yeah,
see.
I have a couple that I can send you. I don't have any I have to look at this one photo album. Maybe there's some more there. But yeah, I can send you a couple of pictures through Facebook Messenger.
Oh, that'd
That's
be
fine.
amazing. Yeah,
All right.
cool.
Oh my God, it's 5 after 12. Is there
Sorry.
anything else that you want to talk about? Because I
No,
got to get going.
I think we covered it. Oh, one other thing. Where would you go to have fun? Like, would you party outside of the zone? And like, were there clubs that you loved going to?
Oh yeah, there was one club on Commonwealth Avenue in Brighton called Our House,
Yep.
and it was like going into someone's home, and you had to knock on the door to get in. It was great. So like you know, a lot of working girls and things went there, and there was no hanky panky. That was just the place to unwind, have some appetizers, have some, you know, a couple of drinks, and then go home.
Yep.
And then there was another place on the hell's the name of the street? It was right in the back bay called Jason's, and that was a
Oh yeah,
nightclub.
I
And
remember Jason. Yep. Or
yep,
I've heard about
so
it.
that was another place. Yep, and then there was a Chinese restaurant up in Kenmore Square that we used to go to. We used to go to the bar and get the food and, you know, and party in there. But yeah, those were Our House, Jason's, and the Chinese joint. A lot of us went to Chinatown after the bars closed, just hang out and eat too. You know, because the you know Chinatown was right there.
And cold tea.
And,
Drink it after too.
you know, it's kind of weird because, yeah, it's kind of weird though, because the last time I was in Boston, I traveled by bus, whatever, got off at the new bus station, and well, it's not new anymore, and I walked through Chinatown, and I got up to Washington Street and saw the changes. It's like, oh my God, it's nothing I would have ever, I never would have seen that they would just totally wipe the place out and then build apartments and office buildings and things like that. It just looks so strange to me, you know, even 20, 30, 40 years later, it looks really strange. I mean, I'm all for, you know, development and, you know, all that, but the combat zone was really, it was the place. It was the place. It really was. And, you know, to sit here and say that I have regrets wouldn't be genuine. That wouldn't be genuine at all. It was what it was. I did what I did. I did what I was told. Some of the things I loved and some of the things I didn't love, but it happened. It happened.
Yeah.
And I don't think there'll ever be any better stories than the ones that come out of the combat zone. I'm telling you.